Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The president often liked to say on the campaign trail that we were going to win so much that we would get tired of it and ask him to stop. Mr. President, stop. There are Kurdish allies of ours who are dying in the streets because of your decision against the advice of those around you to pull out of Syria. And in fact, the only real winners are ISIS, Syria, Assad, Iran, Turkey, and Putin. We've already talked about the president's decision and how it would enable the return of ISIS. The Syrian regime is backfilling in areas that we have controlled for quite some time. Ms. Torres, have you seen evidence of that already? Territory that had been held by the United States that has not been held by Assad for years being reclaimed by the Syrian government?
Sorry, can you repeat the last part of?
The land that was being held by the Kurds with support from the U.S., is Syria taking over parts of that, and is that areas that have not been controlled by Syria for quite some time?
We have seen reports of that, but I may want to defer to my colleague, but we have seen reports of that.
In President Trump's ceasefire deal with Turkey, Turkey denied it was actually a ceasefire, seemingly failed to hold, and the parameters of its safe zone were so unclear it would be almost impossible to enforce anyways. In fact, testimony in front of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee yesterday, it appears the U.S. delegation didn't even use a map when negotiating the safe zone with Turkey. And yes, my colleague is right that the president is the arbitrator of foreign policy. It's just unfortunate that it looks like the Keystone cops are the ones that are driving our foreign policy right now. Yesterday, Turkish President Erdogan and President Putin agreed to remove Kurdish forces from the Syrian-Turkish border, making Putin the key power broker in the region. Ms. Ahmed, can you tell us what your reaction to that deal is that took place yesterday?
Ev peyman ev jî dibêjin bila Kurd ji hêzê Qesedê ji Sînûr vekşê paşta biçe.
This deal imposes STF forces to go withdrawal from the border area.
Ev jî nêzî 30 kilometre cardin wek mesahetekî ji Türkiye re vekirî dihêlin.
So up to 30 kilometers, this area is left to Turkey.
Ev jî ser ewlekariya me ciddî xeteriyê çê dike.
And that poses a serious threat in our safety and security.
Ji ber ku rejîmê guhartin çê nekiriye. Guhartinên demokratîk çê nekiriye rejîmê.
Because the regime has not done any democratic changes so far.
Eger hêzê rejîmê bi xwe werê jî ew xeterî çê dike bê guhartin.
And with the same mentality coming of regime forces also poses a threat for us.
Wê Türkiye û dewriyên Türkiye û Rusya ji dû re bigerin cardin tehlikeyê xeterî li ser me.
Turkish and Russian petrol and the regime, it's a dangerous situation for us, for the Kurds.
Lê dibin zaxtê da illehî bi zorê dibêjin ya hûn ê paşta vekşin yan jî em ê li we bidin yan jî Tirkiye wê êrişî we bike.
What they say is, you either have to withdraw or we're going to let Turkey to attack you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Palmer, I think you've seen the TV coverage of U.S. bases being overrun and controlled by Russian forces. How does that make you feel?
Congressman, I'm only going to talk to my experience in Syria during 2017. I'm not necessarily qualified to speak to the current.
I'm not asking you from an official capacity. I'm just asking you as a person who has served the government and in our country in a patriotic way. How does that make you feel?
Congressman, I'm just not going to testify to other than my experience.
Ms. Torres, do you have any comments in that area?
I think on our end, on behalf of the Soufan Center, and as an American, I think that it's difficult to turn away from allies who we've depended on for a very long time to, in a way, protect us from the terrorist threat that we face emanating from ISIS in Iraq and Syria. So to see that happen so abruptly and without a policy and without a process and without diplomacy, it was really hard to swallow.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for having this hearing because it's repeated over and over the foreign policy mistakes of this administration, what has transpired in Ukraine where crimes were committed, yet the continued cover-up by those involved and those who will support this president to no end, regardless of the obvious wrongdoing, is disheartening to all of us. Thank you. I yield back.